Thank you, Dr. Tim. Appreciate that. And,
have a great show.
Thank you. Will do. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Monday, January the 18th, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. And we'll give Michael just a minute to get signed in, and I'll welcome everybody. And, you know, the group for the next intensive has just grown like wildfire lately. And so in addition to the people from the first intensive that will be attending again, and if you're listening and you were part of the first intensive, please look in your emails because I did send you the link for the new intensive for the Zoom links. But we are now up to 15 people with another potential 3 people in addition to the ones from the other intensives. So it's going to be an awesome group. We have people from Thailand. We have a couple in Canada. We've got them over on the West Coast. And, I mean, they're just from all over the place. A couple in Hawaii. So it's going to be a phenomenal group, and it's like we're covering the world with this one. So there's still time if you want to be part of it. We're doing I've already sent the personal code evaluations back out and sent the links to the videos for them to start watching on their own, and then we meet on Wednesday the 27th for the first time. And so looking forward to that. And so Michael will be in here in just a moment. If you're not familiar with their website, go to whyagain, WHYAGAIN.org, and you can click on the bullseye or the start here. Both of those take you to the same page where you'll find all of our worksheets. You'll find MP3s, audios, videos, all kinds of things to keep you busy, to introduce you to the work if you're not familiar with it. If you are familiar with it, it's a good reminder. There's all kinds of information out there. There are quick prints, there's products, there's the radio show, the app information, Michael's book. You can download or read it online, either one. And then there's links to all kinds of things. I did work on the link page last week. I had gotten an email from somebody that there were several links broken, and I actually went through the whole page, and there were a lot of them that I guess the people on the other end, they've discontinued their websites or whatever, and so that changed. So anyway, if you ever find anything on the website that's not working, please drop me a line at Jeanie, Jeanie, at whyagain.org, and let me know what URL or what page you're on and what links aren't working, and I will get them fixed. And I appreciate that. Welcome, Michael.
Dear heart, and welcome everybody. Honored and delighted that you're here as we move forward to the next level, next piece of the puzzle, exploring in particular first century Aramaic forgiveness and all of the corollary tools that go along with that. Wide variety of tools that flow out of the understanding in particular of why and how first century Aramaic forgiveness works, and what this energy field called life is really about and how it really works. We have lots of beliefs, all kinds of beliefs, and you can see people who, if you take a look, go to war over beliefs. And when you recognize that you have exactly opposite beliefs about something, one of those beliefs has got to be correct or right, and the other one's got to be not right. And how do we get to go to war over people who believe something that simply isn't true, or people who believe truth but misinterpret it? And so the objective of this work is to clean up the human mind and its perceptual generation capacity, to really bring it back in alignment with truth, so that the mind has enough of a desire to honor truth that it always generates constructs, and perception is just a construct of the mind, always generates constructs that are accurate and on track. One of the signals that a perceptual construct is off track is that it's based in hostility and fear. When truth arrives, love is present, that's all. And when love isn't present, then truth isn't active, isn't the fuel for perception. We've been teaching this idea of perception for decades, and I'm not even sure how long ago it was now, 5 or 6 years ago. We came across a quote from some research. Heaven only knows how many millions of dollars of your taxpayer money was spent for the CIA to do research on perception. And you can go to the CIA website, cia.gov, and you'll find a book there called The Study of Human Intelligence. You can download it free. You paid for it. Go to the section on perception, and here's what the CIA says from their multi-million-dollar research project. Quote, "The mind does not record reality. The mind generates reality." Therein lies the problem. Everybody lives in their own generated reality structure. And our generated reality structures, those generated by what we call the human mind, are all based on content and are reflections of content. If the mind holds content that isn't accurate, then the perceptual construct will be poor. It will be of a poor quality. Someone who's really off the rails, we say, well, that person is mentally insane. That person is, their perceptual constructs are so bizarre compared to what's actually going on. And most other people, we just say, well, he believes this and she believes that, and therefore their beliefs are of equal value. Well, all beliefs are not of equal value. If a belief is not in tune with actuality, then we have people living outside of the structure of actuality, and pretty bizarre things tend to happen when that occurs. And so what we're working to do with this particular body of work is to get people to understand that perception is nothing more than a construct. Most everybody thinks, I have eyes and I look out and I see what's happening out there. It's just a lie. It's just nothing could be further from the truth. Do a little bit of investigation. You'll find that the eye is an energy receiver. It receives frequencies of light. Now, it's a one-way valve. Information comes in. You can't see out. You do not have, and most everybody believes that they have a set of windows. They look out through them and they see what's happening out there. Total, complete trick of the mind. It's a total fraud. You can't see anything out through your eyes. Information comes in through your eyes. Your mind generates a construct, and that construct you make believe is actually out there. The truth is, it's actually in here. That's why we can so reliably pin down people's thought disorders. That is, when there are thoughts that are out of harmony with truth, we can forgive or remove those thoughts, recognizing that forgiveness is about removal. And when you remove the thoughts that are not in harmony with truth, then the perceptual constructs get closer and closer and closer into alignment with actuality. And the more you're in alignment with that actuality, the more alive you are, the more vital you are, the less sickness you experience, less conflict, more abundant, more vital, and relationships just get better and better and better. And the first thing you've got to want to do to get there is honor truth. You can't make up a story, make up a perception, listen to somebody tell lies, and then have your mind have your mind construct a world that looks like it's really out there, that blames somebody else for what's going on inside of you. And so the objective of this work is to bring each and every one of us into harmony with truth, bring us into alignment with the actuality of what's going on in the world, and throwing off any energy in this energy system that doesn't belong. Now, we have two questions that we always ask at the beginning of a Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop. The first question is, have you ever held a newborn? Go back to the moment where you held a newborn tap into the essence of the newborn. And notice that the essence of the newborn is love. Notice that the newborn is not loving you. The idea somebody can love somebody else is just a fraud. It can't be done. Can't happen. You know, kids had a song a few decades ago, looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love in too many faces. When you are restored to the truth of who you are, you get to experience the active presence of love. It's what we are. It's not something we can do or give away or get from someone else. So establish the fact that human life is love, and then second question we ask is, how many have ever done something you regret? Have you ever done something you regret? Now, think back to one specific time when you did something that today you regret having done it, and notice what you were feeling when you did that behavior. Now, I've never had anybody who said I was in this loving, sweet, wonderful, awesome place. Everybody who says I did something I regret was in the space of some form of hostility or fear, or something based in hostility or fear. Now, I've had people say I was in love, but what they really meant is I was attached to someone that I have garbage around, and I did this behavior based on my loving them, but that's just another lie of the mind. So hostility and fear are indicators that the mind is linked to a power supply that does not allow the perceptual apparatus to function properly. And all we're looking to do, we're not the least bit interested in what you believe in. All we're offering is, here's a set of tools, try them out, delete or remove, which in Aramaic was called forgive what never belonged in you, and watch how your energy field lines up with the actual creation. And more vitality, more aliveness, more sweetness, more abundance is just a natural result of doing that. And we're here to make these tools available, quite literally, to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And we are honored and delighted that you're here to be part of the conversation. And so, Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody out there with a hand up in the phone queue? Anybody in the chat room with a thought for us?
No, Joan's with me in the chat room, and I actually have asked in there, so if anybody else, if you could text me. It may just be my phone and my hearing, but to me it sounded like your phone was crackling. You were still very clear and very understandable, but there was a crackle going on kind of behind the scene there. So when somebody else lets me know if that was true for them or if it's just my earpieces and my hearing. But nobody has a hand up. We have 47 minutes. We've got plenty of time. So if you press 1, you're first in line without waiting, and we will address your questions or your conversation, what you're interested in. While I was waiting for you to dial in before the show actually started, and we do have a hand just went up, I was telling everybody, about the intensive that was getting started, and that we were just doing personal code evaluations and watching the first videos, and so that there was still time if people wanted to jump on board, and reminding those who were in the first intensive that I did send out an email with the links so that they could join us the live Wednesdays. So our callers, area code 480, you're on the air. Who do we have?
Good afternoon for you, Michael and Jeanie. It's Scott.
Hey,
well,
young
welcome,
man.
Young man. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. So well, in fact, that I'd like to report, and it came as quite a surprise, was that even though I'm still dealing with these physical symptoms as they relate to this digestive issue, I woke up yesterday and I had and there was a surge of vitality. Thank God. It was,
yay!
And then it's rolled over into today. And so even though the symptoms were present, they they weren't as pressing, and the vitality surge that I had just moved, just kind of, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but set the symptoms and the energy aside. They just got shelved. It all got shelved, and I had like the most regular, functional, vital day that I've had in months yesterday, and so far so good today. And I can't really explain it other than to say that this is a direct result of me doing the work. Sound good?
Sweet. That's it, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just heard you mention that vitality increase, Michael, and so, yeah, for the time being, I'm a living example of it, and boy, am I grateful to have it. Boy, it's great. What else to say?
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. It's been over a month since I've had just, I've woken up and realized, oh, hey, wait, today's different. I have more energy. And that's, well, anyhow. Okay, so here's what's going on with me, which I think this is going to be a new one. And it's, as usual, it's directly related to what I've been reading in the latter chapters of the text of the course of late. So for years now, Michael, I have been experiencing this, and I do believe it's coming from my subconscious mind. But I'll bring it home and just share it. It came up again 2 days ago. I'm at a place where I can have a single thought zip through my mind. And it's definitely a thought that comes from ego. And instantaneously, I will have the experience of a stabbing pain somewhere in my body. So I was at work the other day. A thought, and I associate all of these thoughts with guilt, by the way. Thought came up, bang, stabbing pain in the right rear end. Half hour later, another thought comes up, bang, stabbing pain in the knee. Half hour later, another thought comes up, bang, stabbing pain in the left ankle. And these things, these energies, they come and go, but what I'm able to do is I look at the thoughts, and every one of them is a you should or you shouldn't type of thought with a punishment thought that goes along with it. It goes so fast. And then, bam, the effect is this stabbing pain. And then the pain wears off, and, I wake up the next day and it's all gone, but the whole thing can start over again. And this is an experience that I've been having for 30 years. 30 years of this guilt, stab, pain stuff. And I think, Michael,
and it sounds like.
Well, one more thing. If I extrapolate this stuff, it also explains the chronic condition, which is
absolutely
a long-term guilt, stab, pain kind of thing. It's all the same stuff.
Yep.
So
it
anyway,
sounds like you're allowing yourself to become conscious of those thoughts rather than getting lost in the distraction of the pain. That's an awesome step forward.
Okay. These thoughts are so, well, no. They seem like they are so ridiculous. Oh, well, you should have done, and just this, it seems like such an irrelevant thing. You should have done that differently. And yet, the penalty or the consequence that goes with that simple thought of, you should have picked, I'm just looking at a spoon right now. You should have picked up that spoon differently is bam, and just an instantaneous pain. And so I've been able to link these to the thoughts. But where I was going with this in relation to the Course is, the Course talks repeatedly that, you start digging around, and what you're eventually going to run into is just hidden guilt all over the place. And that's what I'm looking at right now. Is, recently we've had the discussion. Well, okay, so there's my surface level anger and rage, and emphasis on surface level. Look below that, and I find fear thoughts attached to every single bit of it that come out of my, that come out of my childhood. And then now all this guilt is surfacing, and it's on the table. And of course, it has to come from what I perceive as a child and what I'm making up about that as well. But man, it's just like every day between the physical symptoms and that are chronic, the stabbing pains, and now I'm looking at fear, anger, and guilt all at the same time. It's like a cork coming off of a bottle, and I'm swimming around thinking, good God, or thank God this intensive is coming up, because I need it. But
you're ready.
Question's this, Michael. Because I don't really see it on the worksheets. Well, where does guilt come into the equation as far as the work goes? Because, like I said, it's just staring me right in the face right now.
Yeah. Well, that's step 1B. Step 1A is proclaiming who you are as love. Step 1B is, what am I feeling? What's my emotion, pardon me? So there's where you put guilt. And the thing to recognize, there's a powerful section in the Course that says, you may wonder why you must look upon your hatred and realize its full extent. And then it goes on to say that it's because it doesn't stand alone. It's got a foundation. And what you're now doing is allowing yourself to look under the foundation and clean up those thoughts. Forgiveness to those thoughts, and the perceptions that are just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
When you apply forgiveness, the undercarriage of that tip of the iceberg collapses, and you can then delete the whole thing and all of its effects.
Okay. Well, all right, thanks. And let me add this, in that, remember, so where I started was looking at, all right, all this anger and rage and stuff are on the table, so I start there. And then I take a closer look and I discover, all right, what's behind that at the next level is all these fear thoughts. And I've started writing them down and doing worksheets on them. I've never been aware of or taken a look at the thoughts that drive my guilt, other than to notice that there's these should have statements that come up. And most of them have to do with this. Okay, and this just came to me. And that is this drive for perfection. And perfection is one of the things that my dad wanted from me. And like you brought up for me last week, when I see myself as not performing to like his standard, I go into overwhelm as a defense. And then I'm just right now I'm just kind of like reaching for this, but I'm guessing that this guilt has to do with not measuring up to his standard, maybe. But anyways, I haven't been looking. The guilt's new to the scene. I haven't been looking at it for years. I've known it's there, but it just doesn't show itself very often. It didn't even occur to me to put guilt as a feeling thought pattern down on these worksheets until the other day when it was like, man, this is relentless. All these pains just getting stabbed left and right. What am I going to do with this? So that's there. I'll just leave it at that.
So notice that what you've done recently, you've been letting go of your anesthetic, your drug, hostility. Remember, hostility is not a feeling or an emotion. Hostility is simply a drug produced by the mind to anesthetize against pain. And you're letting go of it. So now you're becoming conscious of what's going on underneath it. And it sounds like the underlying dynamic that comes next to forgive is having accepted the message from you. Now, this is a power person dynamic. Having accepted a message from your power person that you're broken. There's something wrong with you. And that's the underlying piece that all that other stuff sits on top of. And I think Jeanie, and it's pretty intuitive to use. You might want to take a look at it. I think she's already sent out for the intensive the new codependence or power person worksheet that we created in the last intensive. So you might want to dig that out and just start to intuitively work with that. And I think you'll see that it will open up a whole other level of this process that you're so powerfully in right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's just sitting right behind me. So going through the materials.
And the lie was you're broken.
I'm broken.
Just a lie.
And there's another realization that's come up for me a lot lately is, okay, so I hadn't put it in those words, you're broken. That's part of it. And another part of this dynamic is, there's something wrong with you. It'll come back. It slipped my mind for now, but it just keeps popping up over and over again as part of this dynamic that I had going on with my dad, and I can see how it kind of drives. It's a driving force behind my behavior now. The other thing, Michael, is, geez, it is just not pleasant looking at these fears. Anger's a lot easier to look at than fears that just come out of. It's like recognizing that I've been living in a trance for almost 60 years, based upon fear and now guilt that are all part of this program that I've made up as a reaction response to dealing with my dad. And what's in front of me is a decision. Regardless of how uncomfortable it is, do I want to look at it with the opportunity to essentially get rid of it, or do I want to keep it going? And it is so destructive, self-destructive, that it doesn't matter to me how ugly it is anymore. It's got to go. It has got to go. The suffering that I'm going through, whether it be a stabbing pain or a chronic condition, is not worth it. And I'm also beginning to see that through the Course in Miracles, that this is my setup plan. I'm the one who has this entire dynamic in place that I set up as an attack defense against my dad, and this sickness that I'm dealing with, absolutely part of it. It's the compromise that the Course says. I can continue to maintain this delusional thing that I've made up about my dad and my reaction and my response toward him, and it shows up every day in my life. Why is this happening to me again? This whole dynamic and this sickness is what I'm giving myself in order to maintain that stuff. Unbelievable.
Keep it hidden.
It just is. And so,
and notice,
yeah.
And notice the piece of work you've been doing over the last few weeks. There have been several objects of attention that you've been pointing rage at lately. And you've very powerfully chosen to change your mind about that. One of them being your boss.
Yeah.
I forget what the other dynamic was you shared. Was something silly that was this rage about it. So notice that instead of swallowing down the anesthetic and just keeping yourself dumbed down with it, you've decided to let go of that and let yourself become aware of the thought disorders that lie underneath it, and you're correcting them. And That's what healing looks like. That's the whole thing in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of healing, glad you brought that up. I had this conversation with a friend last night because she's going through the same thing. What I think I'm hearing you describe as a healing crisis. Holy cow, Michael! When I go through these episodes where I literally lose my mind in terms of fear, anger, and guilt, and just go down the rabbit hole. And I think, and everything is, I'm just identified with that ego and that thought system. And the most positive thing I can say to myself while I'm in it, because I know I'm in it, is that this too shall pass, and because it always does, and I will weather this storm, and all of the blame and everything else that I'm throwing out and projecting at this time, it doesn't mean anything, because this is the crisis that I'm going through. It's so dark and it's so ugly that it's hard for me to wrap my head around that it has anything to do with healing at all. But when I've brought it up before, you point out that this is part of it, and that this is the healing crisis, and that's just it. It's about weathering the storm to the best of my ability. Is that right?
Right on track. Remember, the Course talks about you must bring the world you do not want to the one you do. What is the one you do want? To live as a human being, to live as conscious, active, present love. Mm-hmm. When we can keep love conscious, active, and present, bring everything unlike that to the surface in the presence of love, that creates a transmutation of energy that removes, which means forgives, the energetic dynamics that create the trauma. And you transform everything with that. So you're right on track.
Why is it then that, I feel like I'm not only in the sewer, but underwater, and you know what I mean? I know you do. The only thing that I can say about these incidents is when I go under, more and more and more, I'm aware of the fact that I'm underwater, and that as much as the rampage is just going on in my head, but I'm also then reaching out to I'm reaching out to Ruka and saying, in the middle of this, I know I'm insane right now. I at least have that awareness. I need help, and I'm just hanging on. And that's really what it is. Because the rest is just an absolute hurricane of garbage. Does that sound accurate?
Sounds right on track. And just ask yourself the question. Mm-hmm. Think about what you know about mom, dad, brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grand. How many people in your bloodline that you know of, or that you don't know of, but it's pretty obvious it's in the bloodline, have been underwater forever and never had a clue it was even going on?
Mm-hmm. Well,
and you've chosen to step in and wake up from it.
Yeah. So this stirring of the pot may have considerably more to do than just me alone. Is that what you're suggesting?
Precisely, yes. Remember that story of the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years? And you think about that, and you have to ask yourself the question. Let's see. This is about a 35 square mile area. A group of people who are very well acquainted with astronomy They know which way the sun comes up and which way the sun goes down, and they know exactly how to follow it. And, if you're in the middle of the 35 square, it doesn't matter, you're on the far edge of the 35 square mile area, how many days is it going to take to follow the sun to get you out of the desert? It wasn't about a hot, sandy place. And, they were stuck there for 40 years, we're told.
Mm-hmm.
And most people are about 40. If they're lucky enough to start to run into an alternative way of thinking, that start to wake up and go, gee, maybe there's something else going on here besides this is everybody else's fault and I'm the victim. Mm-hmm. And then if you go back and you read that passage about the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years, how did they get out of the desert to what was called the Promised Land, the land of conscious co-creation? What had to happen? They said, the old generation has to die off. That didn't mean everybody in old physical bodies had to physically die. The root of the word generation is genare. It means cause. All of the causes held in mind had to be removed in order to get out of that unconscious state and step out into the land of conscious co-creation, where I would source an energy in harmony with my being, and I'd create out of the presence of love. That's stepping out of the desert. And everybody has to do that journey for themselves.
Okay. Well, my response to that is, let's just say a week ago, I can go into complaint mode, which is, hey, Yeshua, why do I get saddled with the responsibility of resolving all this? What do I owe all these other people, right? And that's the kind of ego crap that comes up about it. Whereas this week, I'm in a different frame of mind, and I say to myself, or I say to Yeshua, hey, man, glad to be on board and glad to be able to assist with all this, and what's next? And it's an attitudinal shift about everything, from wrong-mindedness to right-mindedness. But besides, to be quite frank, it's none of my business regarding what the effect of my own forgiveness, Aramaic forgiveness, what the effects of that might be regarding the past or even the future generations. So there's no reason for me to even look at it. It's just, this is what's on my plate now, and the intensive is coming up, and I just need to do my work and then let the chips fall where they may, because I don't know anything and Ruka knows everything. It's that simple. So the other thing that, I dug up that Fenelon quote that you sent me and read about that, and there's a clear expression of, you open this can of worms and guess what? You're going to find yourself in a can of worms.
Right.
Darkness cannot hide, and the only way out is through. So I'm okay. I'm on board with all that. The only other thing that...
So imagine for a moment that you are one of the disciples that Yeshua asked to come to the Garden of Gethsemane and stay awake for an hour with him. Would you be willing to stand at the gateway of that much suffering processed? And are you willing to stay awake to hold the space for the process?
That's a very interesting question, because I'm not kidding you. A couple hours ago, I was talking with I had a little chat with Yeshua. And it went along these lines. I said, I don't know how you did it in that garden, especially when nobody was. To me, I can't even fathom how he pulled off the whole thing, because nobody was there for him, essentially. He's relying on a connection with an invisible God that he knows is real, and yet everything that he's facing is essentially, there's the condemnation, there's even his own disciples go to sleep. That's just it. And where he goes through this by himself, where he's literally sweating blood over this, that's what I was thinking about. And I'm just astonished. How did you possibly manage to pull that off?
It's a major healing crisis.
Exactly. That's right. That's major. I can't imagine anything more major than that. And to pull it off by himself, practically, it's incredible.
So now that you've imagined it, are you willing to step through that garden into Gethsemane and help to process the load?
Yep. Yes, that's why I'm here.
For all of humanity.
How about
all of time?
How about we just start with me and a few of my immediate ancestors for now?
Okay.
Right.
I'll call you out on that one a little later.
Okay. Yeah, maybe post intensive.
Yeah.
The willingness is there, but for the time being, believe me, the resistance, and every time I label, when I observe resistance coming up, I think about what you said about what does Satan mean in Aramaic? Well, it's resistance, and what was the other one? Denial. Because
being misled. The resistor, one who misleads.
Well, yeah. And so, ultimately that's the choice. There's only two paths, and the more that I look at the two alternatives, and regardless of how, I've told you that I've experienced being, and it scares me. Presence, or no, that's not it. The immediate reaction to it is so far, and this changes, is I'm fearful about it, and there's one aspect of beingness that brings that up more than anything else. The aliveness and it's all great except for one thing. When I realize that expansiveness is endless, it's infinite, that's the thing and I haven't put my finger on what exactly the fear of that is. But going from this extremely limited perception of myself to an experience of being where there are zero limits, it's such a flip. It's such a change that that I've been going through these episodes of fear, but gradually getting more and more used to the state of being, because the experience of it versus the alternative of darkness is just becoming more and more clear that who I really am, even though I have a fearful reaction to it at times, that's going to change. Because, and going through this darkness and this work is helping me, because it's so nasty, it's so bad, that there's no desire to want to be it anymore. It's like the Course says, I dig deeper, and what do I find? Yeah, there's a murderer inside there. And even though the alternative is a little scary because it's unfamiliar, it's unknown, it's got to be better than being this pathetic animal that's, bent on survival. Ugh. Okay, that's it.
So your next piece of work,
Mm-hmm.
and what you just said in the last 2.5 or 3 minutes, did you catch your denial?
Yeah, I was listening to what I was saying, and I knew that it was in there, and I also figured that you would bring that to my attention. So yeah, please lay it on me.
So notice your words were something to the effect of, when I think about that no limit life, it frightens me. So remember our definition of denial. When I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's going on inside of me, I'm in denial. When I go into denial to hold the belief that it frightens me, I have to dissociate from the cause of my fear. Pardon me. While I'm in that state, my fear is unresolvable.
Okay, so all right. What you're hitting
it
now,
doesn't frighten you, but you got some fear coming up.
Okay.
So now you're bringing, if you can let go of the denial and recognize, I have fear, maybe even terror around this idea, as opposed to it frightens me, it terrorizes me, then I get to open my dissociated fear and terror. I get to bring the world I do not want to the presence of active love, to the world that I do. And now the fear and the terror begin to dissolve. They begin to be forgiven, removed.
I did catch myself say that. As soon as I said the word it, I realized that I was placing it outside of myself, and I actually changed my wording to say, I'm responding with fear to something, something like that. But yeah, I did catch that. And yes, I do see that. And clearly the fear is going to come up around. It's going to probably go right back to the power person again. What's the dynamic there that's made me fearful about something now, right?
Did you catch the denial there?
No.
What's the dynamic that's made me fearful?
That I'm buying into. Yeah. Okay.
Well, when I say what's the dynamic, I'm saying what is it that's going on out there that's making me fearful again? As opposed to there's a dynamic going on and it really brings up fear for me. When I can own it, then I'm allowed to access it. But as long as I'm in denial of it, it's like, I just put it in my computer, put a password on it, throw away the password. I can't access it, can't heal it in that state of denial.
Okay. Well, my response to that is very simple. I understand that, and I'm willing to look at it. That's the end of that. Because there's no time for denial and playing around with this stuff. Not anymore, not for me. And so I'm absolutely willing to look at the fear that I'm generating regarding this experience of unlimitedness. What is it? It's clearly coming from me, and I don't want it. I want it off my plate. It's a sticking point. It's a stuckness point. And so, yeah, I mean, part of the intensive for me is it's going to be looking at everything I possibly can, and that's certainly one of them. Because it's an area of stuckness. It's been an area of stuckness for me. And it's, in the Course, Jesus says that, you peel with the Yeshua, he says with all of the, the obstacles to peace, and there's all this stuff, but what it really boils down to is that the thing you're afraid of the most is not crucifixion, it's resurrection. It's coming into knowing what you really are and dropping everything around what you aren't. And that looks to me like, in a nutshell, that's what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah. because we bought a power person message that we were broken. And that is the moment where that coagulates. We'll see this in the codependence part of the intensive. The moment where those messages coagulate into the false self is the moment where we move out of the natural state of bliss and joy and physiological pleasure and delight into the most intense murderous rage that could ever happen. Because we go from the state of bliss. Just look at the newborn. Just look at the small child. You know, if their diaper's empty and their belly's full, they are bliss.
Same here.
And when we buy into those thought disorders and formulate a self that is false, then the moment where that falsity becomes the predominant resonant energy in the system, that falsity takes over and runs the feeling nature. So it's from bliss, when we fall into identification with the non-being self, this set of messages that coagulates, as it were, in the mind as this physical being that we are. It's from bliss to extreme trauma and the pain of that and the rage at having been deprived of that is monumental. And it's a piece of work that just everybody has to do. And I've only seen a few people who even started to approach it, let alone do the work.
And I just read this yesterday, because ultimately what I think I hear you describing is to single moment. It's the moment of separation where everything came undone. And then
everything appeared to come undone.
Exactly.
We experienced everything coming undone, even though it didn't actually happen.
Right. And so the more I peel off this thing, the closer I get to that actual moment where I believe undoneness happened. And it does really look disastrous, even though it did, it's just something that it's already all been solved. I just haven't realized it yet. But I'm getting there. And I'm committed to getting this done. That's all there is to it. Even when I'm in the sewer and 50 feet down and all the garbage is going on, I know that I'm going to come out of it and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to just keep going forward. I've done that for years and years and years. No matter how bad it gets, I get on my feet and I keep going forward. And that is not going to stop until this is complete. Period.
So instead of what it's not going to do, what are you going to do?
I'm going to get this done.
Cool. Yeah. And do it gently. I'm willing to gently open everything in me, everything in my bloodline that's ever been off base and untrue. I'm willing to embrace it. I'm willing to let it come forward, bring it to this presence of being, this presence of love in me, and let it dissolve. Yeah. And then I'm willing to stand beside Yeshua and say, okay, I'll help process the load for all of humanity. I'm willing to be the instrument that will allow all of this energy to process through my form for the healing of humanity.
Well, okay, thanks. I'm warming up to that idea. But see, here's another.
We need people who are willing to go there.
This is part of my experience too, Michael, is that when I'm in, and this is, okay, so when I'm in my wrong mind, no, I demand answers. Why have I been going through this chronic illness for 30 years? Yada, yada, yada. And yet, when I'm in that experience of being, okay, the past doesn't exist. I don't even think about, time doesn't exist. What 30 years? And the other, I don't even think about, time doesn't exist. What 30 years? And the other thing is, when I'm in the experience of being, it's literally, I'm not aware of the presence of this body. What I am aware of is that there aren't any symptoms. The illness itself doesn't even exist when I'm in the pure state of being. It's not there. And so all of the stuff that my ego dredges up to complain about, I already know from experience that when I'm in a state of being, it doesn't matter because it isn't there. And that's what I want to get back to. I have not been in that experience for months now. And that's what I want to return to. I'm saying to Yeshua, look, I've had this fear come up around this, but I want to stick my toe back in that water and move forward now. Because I know it's kind of like he's shown me the end game and now said, okay, now you got to go back to square one and move through your stuff, which is what this intensive is all about for me. Get that off your table, and bang, you're going to find yourself right back in that experience of being again, and you get to try it on one more time. Okay, that sounds good to me. I'm just making that up, but it still sounds good to me.
It's right on track. That's exactly where we're heading. Because notice that there is never an absence of being. There's only the loss of the awareness of being. When we lock into this construct in the mind based on power person messages.
Mm-hmm.
And we turn literally the state of organization, organic structure, over to the hostility and fear-based self. The hostility and fear-based self, by definition, is the disease. There is no physical disease because there is no physics. If we listen to Einstein, he says, on such things as matter, we have been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy, energy whose vibration has been so low as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. Matter is nothing but an appearance in the mind. It's nothing but a perceptual construct. Is this thing we call the body-mind unit here? Yes. But it's not what our perceptual constructs conceive it to be. When we tune into what it actually is, and that it's meant to be a temple, a place for the expression of being, of active love, and that's the only frequency active within the system, then everything else dissipates and disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the world you do not want to the one you do. And the lure of this, this non-being mind and all of its excuses. I was just watching, someone had sent me a link to a video that Carol Howe did. Carol Howe's a Course in Miracles teacher in Florida. And she did this just really cute video where she's got a woman that's, working with her, and she's in front of an audience, and she's got all these guilt and fear things going on. And this is representative of the ego, and she has a magnetic board, and she's got all these things she's going to do. It's like, well, I just need to get enough money. So she, puts money up on the board. Then everything will be okay. Well, I'm still not happy because somebody might steal my money. Well, I just need to get locks to put on my money. Then I'll be happy. Well, I just need to get more stuff to be happy. Well, I just need to go on vacation. Oh, I just need to find the right person. I mean, on and on and on. It's just really a cute video. I'll send you a link to it. She's just done a beautiful job of all the all the things that the ego, the non-being mind says, oh, come over here. I can take care of that for you. And it sounds like you're just